Today we are going to be talking about this guy right here, which is the Viltrox DC-X3. This is the recently announced monitor from Viltrox that has SDI and HDMI signal capabilities. And I know you're probably wondering why I got this configuration in a weird thing. It'll be explained a little bit later. What's going on, everybody? My name is James Jackson. If you're new here, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry. So if this is content that you like, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forward. As I mentioned at the top, today we are getting a first look at the Viltrox DC-X3. I'm saying this is a first look, given the fact that Viltrox, I got to get this review out a little bit sooner than expected, given the fact that I'm actually going on a trip in 5 days to Ireland, and I'm not going to be able to do this review in time, and I don't want to, I don't want Viltrox to be waiting on my review. So so this is just giving a first look and sort of going over the thing and really talking about the value that you can get out of this. And I really do mean this by the fact that I do believe that this is probably the best value monitor that you're going to get, and you'll see once we go into everything that you're getting with this monitor. Now, if you guys are interested in this monitor, I do have affiliate links down in the description below. It comes at no additional cost to you guys, but it does have a little commission come my way, and anything to help support the channel, I do truly appreciate. Viltrox is being very, very generous with what they're providing, given the cost of this monitor. And again, full disclosure, I should mention this right at the top. Viltrox did send me this. I do get to keep this, but Viltrox is not going to see this video before I release it, and they have no say in what I am doing in terms of this video. All the things I'm going to be saying is of my opinions. Technically, I'm not being paid directly from Viltrox. I do get to keep it, and so this is in exchange a gift. So thereby, I am technically being paid for this. This is just full disclosure out there for you guys. Let me go ahead and just get the negatives out of the way here, because I want to just start off with that before I go into a lot of the pros and further on into the review. The first negative I want to say is the color reproduction is a bit tricky. Because the signal that you send, that your cameras will send with this monitor, does include the color shift that is in here, which for a lot of monitors that's kind of typical. There's some that don't, which is one of the great things, where they don't ingest the color data of the 709 you send over. I would highly recommend that you do put your own LUTs in here and then just do some testing with it, just to make sure everything is doing well. The next negative is, while I do admire the durability and all the things that comes to make sure your money's well spent and this will last longer, for mirrorless cameras, I do find it a little bit on the heavier side. I'm talking specifically mirrorless cameras. If you are putting this on cinema cameras like the FX6, the C400, an Ursa Mini or an Ursa Cine camera, or even something like the Blackmagic cameras, or bigger body style, mirrorless style cameras like the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, this looks great, and I think it works perfectly fine with them. It's really the smaller body cameras, particularly something like the Sony FX6, the Alpha line of cameras, and a couple of Canon's cameras. This may seem like, especially when you bend it down, it may feel a bit top heavy, and the balance seems to be off in that way. But that's just like a minor thing. But it is something just to be worth noting. Compared to other monitors that I have, the weight is a little bit more on the heftier side. The last negative is that if you do end up getting this monitor, you may just want to do a color calibration test or recalibrate the screen. Mine's seem to skew a little bit more to the greens, and it was a bit more contrasty. Now, the beauty about this monitor is you can change all that settings right in there, and you can readjust it to where it looks like it's more compatible to the camera you have. There's a couple things that are not necessarily negatives, just be aware of. The pull up for the menus, if you try to bring up the menus or bring up the functions and start working through them, by default, it has like a 15-second timer, meaning if nothing happens, 15 seconds, it pulls everything down. You can change that right into the settings where you could just turn that thing off. But it's just something to just be aware of when you get this monitor. You just have to make the adjustments. It does make some fan noise in the default settings, but you can set it to low, or you can even turn it off. So you do have those options there as well. And the last thing I'll point out is the fact that this monitor doesn't have any wireless transmissions. I know some things like the Affilliate Pyro and some other monitors that are now coming out have wireless connections, or even camera controls. This doesn't have it, but given the price tag that it is at, it's not something that I necessarily would expect, but given all the features that you do have, it makes up. But it's just something that if you are someone that is like looking for a monitor that has wireless transmission capabilities built into it, this isn't the monitor for that. Now, having all that out of the way, let's get into what are the great benefits that you get. And to really truly understand that, I'm going to just first talk about the price. So the price of this guy is $268, so basically under $270. So what you get in here is actually quite a bit of what you're capable of getting with this monitor, and they're quite generous. So first of all, you get this like case right here that comes inside the box, this little soft protection case, which is a lot more than what a lot of more prominent monitors offer you. So you have that, you get the monitor itself, which also comes with, as you guys have been seeing throughout the video, a sun hood. And it's actually a pretty damn good sun hood. Even though this monitor already has 2,000 nits of brightness, just the fact that you have some sun hoods to just cover some of the glare. Because the screen can potentially glare up sometimes, but if you have the sun hood, most of that glaring issues is gone. So I typically like keeping this, I tend to keep this on for most of the time. So you get the monitor, you get the sun hood, you get a screen cover. I took the screen cover and I sort of try to put it on there. They give you all the tools for the screen cover. I kind of took it off and just of the monitor, not because the screen cover is bad, it's just I'm terrible at applying screen covers and screen protections. And given the fact that, you know, I have this sun hood that breaks down right here and it comes right into the case, I don't see the screen protection as necessary. And this is pretty solid. You also get this battery right here. What's awesome about this battery is that, I don't know if y'all will see this, but it actually has power signals that can tell you how long the battery lasts. And also it has a Type-C connection that you can charge. So you can plug this into V-mount or any sort, or your power banks that have Type-C connectors, and it will charge the battery right there. So really good for travel. You do get this mounting option. It is really good, really solid. I will warn you right now, if you have other monitors, especially less durable monitors, I would be very, very careful of putting this monitor mount on it. It is because the tilt axis is so tight. On here, it's fine, but I've noticed on something like my Lilymon 5, I was very nervous about potentially breaking the monitor because I was applying so much pressure on the monitor itself to turn it. So just be very, very cautious with this mount on other monitors. On here, there's no issues with it, but for other monitors, there may be some issues. At the top here, we get a HDMI to mini HDMI. You also, it's actually not here right now because it's on the camera. You get a USB Type A to USB-C cable, so you can plug that in and power the monitor directly, which is really awesome. That's another beauty about this this monitor, is the fact that it has Type-C as well as DC. Typically with monitors, what always frustrates me, monitors, and this one frustrates me too, is the fact that this doesn't have a lock-in DC port. I can't stand it. I really wish monitors would just put the DC port on the back, put a locking monitor there. I don't like it like here because this just feels a bit too loose. However, the fact that I can do a Type-C port and plug that in, it's a great alternative option that I can have. And of course, you have the Sony NPF style battery that comes with the case as well. Again, all of this is for $268. And then you also have a full-size HDMI to full-size HDMI. But again, that one right now is on the camera, so that's why it's not in the box. But again, that's pretty damn impressive for what you get with this monitor. Now I'm gonna be spinning up some B-roll right here, right now, where you'll get to see the Blackmagic Cinema camera, say with the Viltrox DC-X3 on top of it. And you also will see the brightness comparison. As you'll see you see on the B-roll that the Blackmagic Cinema camera monitor, it's a great monitor and it is still viewable daylight, but it is starting to glare versus the Viltrox DC-X3, which is, especially given the fact that it has a sun hood, it's very clear, very easy. And if you have other cameras that have terrible monitors like the Sony FX6 and other cameras that may not necessarily have built-in monitors, this is going to be bright, clear. It's going to take up no problem. As you'll see here, we got a bunch of, you get all the type of exposure tools you have. You get false colors, you get waveforms, you get vector scopes, you get RGB parade, RGB histograms. You even have one where it's one of my quick bars that you have a full set of exposure tools where you'll get the vector scope, the waveforms. You even get like audio monitoring, which is really, really cool. And then you get things like peaking, you get sharpening. You also get all the different types of anamorphic options, 1.3, 1.33, 1.5, 1.6, 1.8, 2 times. They're all here. So if you do some anamorphics and your camera doesn't do anamorphics, this will basically provide that to you. And you also can basically see any type of different aspect ratios you want to see. So if you want to do 9:16, you can see what 9:16 is going to look like on this as well. You also, again, get to load your LUTs, and I would definitely recommend you, if you're going to use this and want to use it to get accurate colors, I would definitely build your own LUTs and load them in here, and then just seeing a clean log curve to it, so you'll get the best and more accurate results as possible. I want to talk about design. I mean, build quality wise, it feels great. If everything feels right, it feels like it's definitely plastic, but it's a very, very tough plastic. There's a big, huge, giant heat sink. I don't know if you can hear this. The fan is kind of kicking in right now, so I'll bring this closer. This is what medium sounds like. But that's no big deal, because you could just go to the settings and then turn the fan off, and the fan's off. And then you also have an F key where you can set what the top function buttons are. So all cool things about it. And again, all of this is for $268. So for $268, you get a really filled out, feature-rich monitor that has all the things you expect in a sort of professional camera monitor: false colors, peaking, waveforms, vector scopes, anamorphics, de-squeezes, third crosshairs, and various different aspect ratios, everything to just make sure you're shooting as freely as possible. It's in a very durable case, and it's both HDMI and it's SDI. So as you can see, this kind of funky configuration, I normally wouldn't do this sort of configuration, but I basically have my Axoon CineView SE tied to it, because unfortunately I didn't get a cage that would fit this. They didn't send me that. And given the fact this is a 6-inch monitor and not a 5-inch or a 7-inch, which are more common sizes for cages, it's not something that I really have just lying around. So this is sort of, I'm just doing some MacGyver. I don't know if y'all be able to see this, but I am able to look at my screen right now that I'm seeing on the Sony FX3. and I am getting a signal from the Axon CineView transmitter to the receiver right here. So even though this monitor does not have any wireless signal to be sent on its own, you know, you can easily get something like the Axon set up and get a pretty decent size, and now you got yourself, you know, a little directorial monitor right here. All of that, and coming in a nice solid case, all of that for $268. Given the fact that there's monitors that just came out, like the Atomos Shinobi, that doesn't have any support for camera control for something like Blackmagic cameras. That one doesn't have SDI or HDMI, and I think it's roughly the same price as this one. Now, yes, as I mentioned, it doesn't have wireless transmissions, but again, if you have wireless transmissions, you can get one separate, like the Axon CineView SE, plug it in, and you're good to go. For how much this monitor, at least so far, again, this is not a full review, but what I've seen so far of this monitor, I've been very, very impressed by it. And I really do think Viltrox did a pretty decent job. It's not perfect. There is, again, I've mentioned the negatives right out the gate. But in terms of value for money, I think this monitor right here is going to be really, really hard to compete. I would love to know hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this monitor? Let me know. Leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.